Welcome to Smitty Bros podcast. Today's a very special day. We have brought in
our wives.
The wives. There they are in all of their beauty. Today, we thought we would bring in the perspective of the other half of the relationship. Sometimes my brother and I can get into an echo chamber where we just bounce ideas back and forth and agree, and you know, it's very one-sided sometimes. So today we're gonna ask a few questions to these ladies and get their perspective. And I don't even know where it's gonna go, but I do know what questions we're gonna ask. You have anything you want to say?
Nope.
Okay. So to start off, we're telling our story aggressively. We are leaving out no detail. We are going to delve into the depths of this entire event over the last 10 years and even before, from our very beginnings, because there are many nuggets of wisdom that we're pulling out that are going to be helpful to just so many people. I mean, anyone who listens to this has the opportunity to be helped. So, in telling the story, there was a time where we all went through something together, and that was when we were having a successful company and it got taken from us. Now, from that point on, we've been together. We've hopped into the new business together also, and we have built several brands of products together. 10 years has passed. So there is so much information in there that we want to pull out of this. So first, let's introduce these ladies. The lady on the left, that's Lauren. Lauren's my wife.
Hello.
You can say hello. And that's Jessie. That's Ryan's wife.
Hi.
Okay. So maybe since you have the mic first,
Okay.
kind of what I'm interested in finding out is when this event happened to all of us, what was going through your mind at that time? And then going through the epic comeback was very roller coastery, and it ends here, right here today. It actually doesn't end because we're still in it. But what has changed, if anything, about your perspective of what happened to our families?
Okay, so the first question was 10 years ago.
10 years ago, we just learned that
It happened.
our successful company that we were investing in heavily, all of us worked for that company,
It's gone.
was gone. What was going through your mind?
I knew it was going to happen. I have had a couple of times in my life where I've had that Holy Spirit knowing thing, and there had been a lot going on prior to, I guess, it happening, being kind of said and done, or however you want to say that. We were actually on a trip. We were in Maine with my family, and through the months leading up to, I don't know, the phone call or whenever it kind of went down officially, I just, in my spirit, I had known. I think I'd even said to Ryan, like, I think this is over. I think this is over for us. I think the business is gone.
Wow.
And it wasn't good news, but it was just a knowing. So that day, I remember that day, he was circling my parents' 5 acres on the phone with his sister, and I was like, yep. So
You weren't surprised?
Well, no, not surprised, but still shocked. Like, somehow there's space for both.
How
of
did
those
you know
things.
it was coming down?
Like spiritually, or like in that day?
I mean, you say you had a knowing of it. Was it something that was building over years, or something that
Just those
just
months,
dropped?
that like 5-ish weird months, stuff was weird.
Yeah.
The family is in business, It was in that time, I look at it as a God preparing my heart kind of thing. It was, I don't know, one of those unexplainable knowing things. I've had a couple of those experiences in my life. One was like I knew I was going to marry Ryan. Like it just kind of can't explain it. Like I just know, and I'm settled on that I know this is going to happen, and then it does happen. So surprised in that, how could this happen? Is this real life? But like I knew this was coming. I knew this was going to happen. So shock, I think shock was still there, even though there was a knowing, because it was just so, like, how could this be happening? How could this be real? So, yeah, I knew. I don't know that made it all that much easier, but I think in some ways there was a degree of preparedness. I don't love change personally, so I don't know. It may have helped in some ways, but yeah. And what was the next part to lead into 10-year journey?
Maybe Pastor Lauren here, and then I'll ask some further questions too. So,
Okay, what was the question?
The question
'Cause that
is-
threw me for a loop. I didn't know she knew.
yeah, this is news to me too.
Didn't know you knew.
So, what's going through your mind in the very beginning of, well, it could happen. You could have known a lot earlier, like Jesse, but no. So, what's going through your mind when basically everything we've been working for, investing in over, a term of 5 years?
So initial response, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I did not know, like Jesse, but I did. I mean, there was weird stuff going on. And the tensions were there. And God had shown me some stuff that made me very unattached to money. In fact, I was actually like a little bit uncomfortable. I was like trying to give away any extra money we had. I like started a relationship with the food bank and stuff. And there was just like an uncomfortableness in like maybe finding my security in money. I don't know, but I definitely was aware of that and was definitely not like purposefully expanding into the money we had. For some reason, I was just uncomfortable. And that might just be me because I had some things to work through. But my initial response was, God, how could you let this happen? That was it, honestly. I was just like, how could you let this happen without telling me or like something like that, basically is what I was thinking. And he very quickly told me very clearly, he said, this is a rescue operation. And I was like, okay, are you rescuing them? Like, I think I understood in that moment, like, the whole thing was a rescue operation. I didn't understand, the eternal scope that probably that answer has. But I knew that it was true, and that's what he said to me. So I just had like a hopeful outlook because I had heard that within myself. And so I just held on to that. I think from this 10 years out perspective, I can say that some of that rescue was me rescuing myself, or God rescuing me from my own mindsets that were based in lack and limitation and not understanding who I really was as a king, in the kingdom and as a son of God. I didn't have that down the way that I do now. And so I think I was rescued. I was rescued from being comfortable in a lesser place. And I do believe that ultimately it's going to be a rescue operation for the whole group.
Yeah.
But there.
Okay. And then for from knowing it coming down and any difference in your opinions or your thoughts or 10 years later?
I think I was sort of clueless as to what that was going to mean. Like, okay, we've just kind of lost everything. So what do we do now? Where do we go from here? I don't know. I don't understand. I'm confused. I will say that I kind of always had a security of like, I know we'll be fine. Like, I don't think I ever had a great fear of like, gonna have to sleep on the street with my baby. And as time has progressed and I've grown and matured, I think I would say I've seen this as a refining fire for myself and all of us to, when you go through something hard and you can either open yourself up to it and allow God to refine you and stretch you and grow you and change you, which doesn't happen overnight. Well, it can, but doesn't often happen overnight. I feel like it's been very drawn out and very long. And I think in this fire, for me specifically, and for all of us, I know he's used it. So there's so many areas of our lives where we have absolutely different perspectives than we than we did back then. And we are ultimately so much stronger spiritually, and see things through a spiritual lens. Like 10 years, like I think we see it, much like God does now, and probably didn't then. I think we lacked
I agree.
some spiritual growth and maturity then that we've gained now. And so, he works all things together for good. So I would say my perspective now is, while what happened is awful and there's still a lot of work to be done, I'm grateful for it. Like, if you asked me, would you rather it never happened and you were still a part of that business and everything went on as it was going on? Absolutely not. No amount of money, nothing would make me want to be on the path that was leading us down, with the fruit and everything that was involved in that. I think we didn't see it. I didn't see it. Well, that's not true. I saw things, but I don't think I had the spiritual maturity understanding. So like Lauren said, like a rescue operation, refining fire, I wouldn't trade any of it. I think the character growth and, everything that it's built is what God has intended, and what's, us to get out of it and grow and change.
Yeah, one thing that I've noticed is we have changed so much from almost like circumstances having control over my thoughts. Well, I'm talking about me, but I've seen it in my family. But how things are currently going is your status, is your identity. It is your reality, and you're living in it, and you want it to change. And I've seen big transitions where that is no longer the case. Circumstances do not tell me anything. I tell circumstances what to do, and then the circumstances change around us. And I think we've had awesome practice with that, and it's a big difference I saw. I remember, we had new babies, young babies, when it all came down, and their livelihoods were like wrapped up in all of this also. And I kind of saw it as this is going to sound kind of harsh, but like a terrorist negotiation where they're holding your kids over a cliff saying, agree with me or I'm going to let them go. And I remember hating being under that, but I was under it at that time. I felt like I felt like I was being attacked, when in reality, the rescue mission, this is not an attack on me. This is setting me free. This is setting my family free. And And we made this decision together to basically lose our livelihoods in pursuit of the righteousness of God. And, we don't know what that is in its fullness. Even to this day, there's more to discover what that is, but it has totally changed us. What do you think about having the young family and having a young family through this entire process? Because you've had more kids since then.
Do you want me to go first? Do I go first? I think that would be probably one of the parts that were hardest for me, is the things that I desired that I saw right in front of me. The way that I pictured raising my family, buying a home, having land, having more means to do more. We had just had our first, so I knew we weren't done, and feeling like, living in California, how the heck am I going to continue to have babies and raise them in the manner that I want to raise them, or even just raise them at all? Like, I don't have anything. And that's the point that it came to. I don't have any more means to anything. But we made a decision, kind of right after, not long after everything happened, we were living with you guys, and we decided to have another baby.
Yeah.
Which, maybe that is completely crazy. It didn't honestly feel all that crazy, because...
Why? Yeah. Why?
I don't know. Maybe there's just this part of me that's, I don't know if it's naive or if it's a knowing, but there is this faith portion of I know he's got our backs. I know he's got our backs. He's faithful. He's too good. He's not going to let us go. So we can step out in faith and follow our dreams and not let this circumstance hinder us. I guess we better hit the brakes. Had we hit the brakes, it's been a long road. So we continued to have children, and we've had 2 more since then. And it's been a walk by faith, not by sight thing every step of the way. And we've seen the fruit of that, and have not lacked, and we have, there's much more to come, and there's still desires that I know we all have, but we've been blessed all the way through it. But there was the mourning piece of, I thought I was going to have this something that I don't have. And as a parent, you want that for your child. You want the greatest and the best for your child. And, I had an amazing childhood that I wanted to mimic in some ways for my children. And so, there's the pieces of, I feel like my kids got robbed. Forget me, I don't care, but I feel like my kids got robbed of what I was going to do for them. But that's all wonderful and great, and God's going to provide that, and He's provided so much along the way. My kids' childhood has not lacked in any way. But there's also the piece of your kids walking alongside that with you, whether or not they know it or they know the extent of it, and them growing up in watching Ryan and I make the decisions we've made and walk forward in the ways that we've walked forward. And I think that is more valuable than anything that they lost.
Yeah, I remember that time when we were like, are we going to, what are we going to do? We wanted to have more kids. We kind of had a plan of when we were going to have more kids. And I remember going are we going to allow one person's lousy choice to determine our future, our kids' future, kind of our legacy plan? Are we going to allow that to happen? And it didn't feel right that something like that could affect, our plan, where we're, like you were saying, under something that could be that impactful to what we were going to do. And I remember, there were some Bible verses that we were reading where it was where God talks about how He takes care of His kids, and it's not dependent upon the circumstances of how good it is or how bad it is, but He is going to provide the needs. And so when we have another kid, the needs are going to be provided for, and it's not based off of what anyone's decisions around us. So yeah, I remember I remember that clearly, and going, we're going to stay the course. That's good.
Yeah. You want to share?
I mean, I don't think I could say anything better than that. Same. Great job. Yeah.
Cool.
Or I guess I'll hold it for the next question.
Yeah, it's to have kids go through this entire process with us. I mean, I feel like we're all kids, kind of. We're all learning something new about our dad, and the lessons that our kids get to see us make are the decisions that they get to see us make, and the lessons that we get to learn together are super awesome. Our kids are starting in a place that I did not start at. I mean, they are some of the smartest, like, judge the universe people. They are righteous, and they know things and have seen things that I never had the chance to see. So I'm really proud of all of our kids to go through this. It does infuriate me sometimes too. This is my old thinking when it kind of pops out. You gotta have to grab it and you have to hold it. You have to not let it run wild. But the innocence of our children being wrapped up in this, and I in my personal opinion, I don't think the people who took from our families thought we were going to act the way we did, because we care about our kids, and the livelihood of, we can't have that stripped away, and our kids were actually used, I think, as leverage to get us to agree with those things. I think that we made great choices. We put things in its proper order, God's word first, even over our own children. Family second. And the opposite was on the other side. It's the fruit of a misarranged priority where family is above God's word, makes people do what they did to us. But we had a great perspective there. I'm really proud of us, and I'm proud of our kids for going through it too. So where we are today, we're telling our story. It's very public right now. It's very broadcasted. The details are very specific. How do you feel about this storytelling that we're doing right now? Like, how do you feel about today's decisions that we're making?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't always told our story publicly. We've only, in passing with people who ask us, are like, hey, like, what do you guys do? And why are you building this food company? And we tell the history and talk about, where we came from with Bitch and Sauce and the story of everything that went down. And we're very, transparent and honest with the people who we're talking to, kind of telling the whole story of how we got where we are at that point. And that's been kind of like the past 10 years of telling it one-offs to, people who are asking or people who want to know. So I know that a lot of that happens because, like, that's a lot of, it's just natural. It's a natural part of why we are doing what we're doing and where we are and the stuff we've been through. But we've never on a public level until recently started, like you said, broadcasting our story. I think I had only done one podcast shortly thereafter everything went down that publicly explained everything that was going on. But outside of that, we haven't really pursued telling our story. And we are now, and our story is still in process. Our story isn't even like, even when you would tell it one-on-one with someone, our story is not comfortable, because essentially there are, it's in process. It's not fully complete. There are people implicated in the details of our story, and the honest, transparency of, here's where it's at, here's what happened. And so it's not like the most comfortable scenario. It's not like this fluffy story that's like, whoa, everything's great and you haven't encountered any hardship or anything. It's like, no, there's been hardship. Like, relationships seem like rubble and that whole thing. So this is going now public, and so it's essentially, that's where we're at now. And since we've made that decision, I know we all had a conversation to go like, hey, where's everybody at with this? Because not only in bringing the story public, can you open yourself up to backlash from people who would be implicated with the facts and the details of the story. But there's also, I would say the majority of it is, people are being inspired by our story. People are thankful that we're actually speaking up, are proud of us for speaking up and out about this. And it has had a far-reaching effect. And I think I even see the backlash as a powerful effect on even people who we love and care about, who are still caught up in the unrighteousness that went down and took place and was never repented of. So,
well, I think this is pretty cool, because the only time I've ever told my story to the individuals who, I've just come across and it's come up or whatever, has been to teach something. I am not a feel sorry for me person. I don't get kicks from anybody feeling sorry for me. I don't really feel sorry for me about anything either. So I don't preach that gospel. Whenever I have ever shared my story, it's for a reason. And the reason is to encourage people, to teach something, to show God's goodness. Basically, I think it all just boils down to, here's the goodness of God. And when you add the details, like, hey, here's a few $1 million, throw that into the story, people pay attention. And not that we're like trying to get the people to pay attention. I'm talking about one-on-one conversations. When you're relating to them, the stuff about your children, the stuff about, like, specifically, like, look, I felt betrayed, and to the tune of this and to the tune of that, and I went through all these emotions that you, my friend who I'm talking to, are maybe going through right now. And in the face of that, I trusted God and His goodness and His word. And so, to the point, whenever I've ever told the story, it is for someone's benefit. It is to teach something, to encourage something, to show the goodness of God. And so now we're doing it not privately, we're doing it publicly, but the principle remains the same. The story is for people's edification, to use a big word, but for, to relate to people, to encourage people, to show the goodness of God.
What do you think about people that don't agree, or backlash that the
God.
What do you think about that?
Backlash.
Like you're only telling the story to,
please
get
let me
the
answer
money.
this. Backlash is just like, okay, one of the greatest lessons that I've learned through this situation is that how to file the opinions of humans, of men. And, in the Bible, they talk about the fear of man brings a snare. If I certainly had some of that before. I do not have that now. I can confidently say I do not have that. And it's not that I don't care what people think, like, because I'm a teenager and I don't care what anyone thinks. No, it's that I love people. And if they're wrong, I know that that's coming from a place of lack and error. And if they're attacking me, I know that that's really has some more to do with how they view themselves in the position that they're in than it really has to do with me at all. So backlash to me is inert. It's a reflection of their own mindset, and it really has nothing to do with me.
That's good. What do you think about backlash coming in? And you can say whatever you want right now.
I was just thinking, the Bible says, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. So I see all of this as a telling the truth so that people may know the truth. In order to be set free, you need to know the truth. So it's kind of like a publicly setting the record straight. And yeah, for those that have, like even people close to us, like family members who may have heard something that was not the truth, they're not going to be set free. They've been told lies that are not true. So I just wanted to share that you need to know the truth to be set free. So the heart and the intention is setting free and light shining in a dark place, exposure, because there will be no restoration or conclusion if those things don't occur, and those things are uncomfortable, and they're uncomfortable for me. Backlash is probably more difficult for me with like still working through fear of man areas probably. But I think whatever backlash there may be, I think would stem from not knowing the truth. And I don't think there's anything wrong with sharing the truth. And yeah, I'm sure we'll get it from all different angles, but I think when you understand the heart, yeah, it just doesn't matter. When your heart is pure and your heart is righteous and your heart is humble, and you're able to change and you're seeking God and his spirit and his direction that he's leading you, then whatever, at that point, backlash doesn't matter. If you're hard-hearted and not willing to hear, not willing to listen, or make changes if needed, then I don't know, whatever. But I guess, backlash, whatever. People come from so many different walks of life, and people say dumb stuff and they don't have an understanding. But I guess that's the point.
I find that people are real reactionary, especially if it's something that is that might affect them or might affect them or threaten them. They might just see a surface a surface detail and go, oh, I don't like that. And even though it might be true, and they won't see the heart behind it. They'll make up their own story that this person is threatening me, and because maybe it is a threatening thing to your life, this certain truth that's coming. But what I would encourage people that are listening, even the people who are implicated, people who are maybe be going through something similar in their own lives, and this type of discussion is uncomfortable, I would take the time and really listen, get past the first threatening things, get past the first very uncomfortable truths that you have to deal with, and listen to the heart of the people, of these people. Our heart in telling the story is that the righteousness of God is seeked first. We are seeking out righteousness. In doing that, we're going to be taken care of, because it says all things are going to be added to us if we seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. We love first. it is possible to tell this whole truth in love. It is possible to, mock a lie in love. It's possible to do all these things. Love is what's driving this whole thing. And I think we're telling the truth in love very well. We've invited, just as like a buffer or like a safety net, we've invited anyone to come and discuss it with us and kind of point out are there areas that we are not in love with this thing. It's going to be pretty difficult because I know my heart. My heart is coming from love, even if others can't see it. And my job is not to make other people see my heart behind it. That's not my job. My job is to keep my heart and to tell the story. And they can think whatever they want, but I would encourage people to see the heart behind what's going on here. And yeah, the backlash that we get, I actually have fun with it, kind of, because I know it's just reactionary. These people are not, they don't want to change. It's that hard-hearted thing that you were talking about. And what I would encourage people to do is basically till the soil of your heart so that you can receive something. Don't be afraid to receive seeds. They don't all have to grow, but if you don't come into a conversation with a tilled heart and you're so hard-hearted, it's just not going to get anywhere. And backlash isn't even going to be effectual to us. Like if someone has a comment to me coming from a hard-hearted person, like I already know, okay, I can kind of write off even what they say because they're trying to protect something. And the conversations that we want to get into with people are not protective of anything, where I'm not protecting anything. I want the weeds rooted out of my garden, and I want good seeds planted in my garden. So I'm going to till my soil. It's going to be healthy. And the other side of that would be healthy too.
Yeah. On the same line of that, like when you're seeking righteousness, the one thing you're not seeking is self-preservation. And I see the truth is very threatening to those who are trying to protect a position, especially if that position is based off of lies or unrighteousness. The truth will seem like a threat or an attack, and it will be taken that way if you care to preserve your life. And I think that's part of like the refining fire that you were talking about, Jesse, is having gone through losing everything multiple times, and there being this 10-year wild story that we've been through. There's like this refining of what I've seen is really like abandoning self-preservation. And, we've had help with circumstances to do that. It's like kind of like the eating with the pigs story in the Bible, where the prodigal son was eating with the pigs and came to the end of himself and abandoned his thought pattern that brought him there. And so we've had wild circumstances that have refined us to really cling to the righteousness of God is what matters, and it's what we seek. And I'm not trying to self-preserve, and it's a little, I guess it's almost like a little easier for me because I've lost everything, And so what am I preserving? What am I trying to hold on to? What matters? And you start really like reevaluating, like, what do I actually value and what am I trying to protect? And, through this refining fire that we've been through, it's like the thing that I value is righteousness, the righteousness of God, and submitting myself to that and submitting myself to the truth and seeing the fruit of that play out. And then, so that's why it's like I can sit here and have any conversation with anybody, and I welcome I welcome it. I welcome the pokes and prods and the stuff. I'm not threatened by any of that because I'm not trying to protect my life. I've already lost it, and like I'm supported by the righteousness of God. Essentially, I'm free. But some people who are trying to protect a position or an idea that's built off of lies or unrighteousness. You can have people who have relationships that are on the line that they value super highly. They have money that's on the line that they value super highly. They have their own view of themselves on the line that they value super highly, whatever it is. And so at all costs, even at the cost of righteousness or truth, this has to be protected and solidified. And that's when you get like a calloused hard heart towards the truth. And that's when, a lot of times when the truth comes in, it's viewed as a threat or an attack, and it becomes more about feelings and stuff that doesn't matter. What matters is the truth, and that we submit ourselves to that. So,
And I just want to speak out of turn possibly, but like Ryan, you are a living, breathing example of self-sacrifice in the face of seeking righteousness. Like, I mean, maybe we all do this, I don't know, but I have noted mental notes that you are happy to eat crow or lose millions of dollars or whatever. You will self-sacrifice very easily for a pursuit of what is right. And it's notable.
thank you.
Yeah, you do it well. It's maybe you're just really good at single-mindedness. I don't know what it is, but you have that thing. You
I
do
just
it.
ate with the pigs too many times.
Okay, well,
I've been exercised in it. There are times in my life, even before everything went down with Bitch and Sauce and our past with business. There are notable times in my life where things were not working, and it was because I was selfish, and I was trying to do things my way, for my own benefit, trying to make it happen for myself, trying to hold together this world that I could not hold together. And the fruit was evident. And, I came to the end of myself. I mean, essentially having conversations with God going, God, this does not work. What I'm doing, it's very obvious and clear. I'm looking at the fruit. It's rotten. This isn't working. I have to change, so I had been through probably 2 life-changing moments prior where I felt like I had lost everything. And so, that I had been refined a little bit already to where it was like, all right, well, here we go again.
well, I would say you've turned it into a lifestyle, because I see you do it even on small things that maybe like who cares? Nobody else is going to care. But I've seen you just lay it down for the smallest thing. So you've definitely practiced it enough that you've made it a lifestyle where you're like, I just want the right thing, everything else be damned. And I think that's a really safe way to live. Even though it sounds extremist and like daring, I think it's actually just safe.
So we're going to wrap this one up, but we'd love to have you back. I think there's so much to talk about. But as far as like closing thoughts, and you can take your time with this because I can edit it. But any personal message to people who have wronged us in the past, and any personal message to those who are interested in this story. Just kind of like it doesn't have to be super long. It could be pretty short.
Personal message to those who have wronged us. what would a moment of humility do in your life? Maybe you could have everything you've ever wanted in a moment of humility, an encounter with God, a moment with your eyes not on yourself, a moment not afraid. What would happen? What do you have to lose? Maybe you have a lot to lose, but what do you have to gain? So, I don't know. That's what I would say to you, the rest of the family out there who...
What about the people who are just tuning in and find the story interesting?
To the people tuning in, finding the story interesting, that's still like baffling me, sort of like, why do you care about my life? What?
You have a really interesting story.
If you're like relating to any part in like maybe in an entirely different way, but like there's some pieces that are like relatable, I don't know. I would say whatever you're going through, whether it's small or big, let God do open heart surgery on your heart, like expose yourself. It's hard and definitely easy to resist it instead. But lean into the pain, essentially. Like I've heard it said, in order to like fix a broken bone, sometimes they have to go back in and re-break it to set it right. So sometimes you have to go back to whatever it is, whatever you're going through that you're like resisting that ouch spot, like go there. And so it can be reset properly and heal properly.
Amen.
So.
Yeah, beautifully said. What could I add to that?
A personal message for those that have wronged you. What would you say?
Oh, well, we're okay. We're just fine. We love you. We want you to be okay. And we know that you're not, because you're not being honest with yourself and you're not being kind. But, you know, we do. We just want the best for you. And we know in the end, it's going to be fine. You're going to be fine. You're going to be seated in the heavenlies. In fact, you are now. So what I want for you is to realize that, who you truly are, and like live from that in a meaningful way that really brings true joy, true peace into your life so that you actually enjoy it. I mean, I don't want to tell a big story, but like I've sat with princes and had amazing meals, the best of everything. And in that moment, I've looked around at the table and thought to myself, the most precious thing in the earth is peace. And I want that for you. And you can have it.
And for the people who are just interested in learning
Other people.
or hearing the
the
story.
tea people. No, I just kidding. What do I want to say to them?
If you have a message to them.
I mean, I have a million things I want to say to a million people. What do I
We'll
want
bring
to
you back
say
later.
right
But anything you
now?
want to say right now?
This isn't the end of the story. Hopefully there's like this crazy twist and then it gets more and more fun. God is an amazing playwright and it's definitely going to get funner and way better, but we do know the end. So we can sit on our thrones and laugh.
Just like God does. Okay, well, this was really cool. We're going to definitely do this again. Thank you for listening to Smitty Bros podcast, Smitty Ladies podcast, SauceCast, is what we're calling it. Yeah, you guys should probably have your own. That would be pretty fun.
Nah, I'm good. We could just come here.
All right, well, there's more to come.